Five, four, three, two, one. Yo, what's going on, everybody? You already know what it is. Thank you for being here. My name is Stilo. Um, if you want to enter the metaverse, check out my website, stiloworld.com. This is the Momentum podcast. We're here with Josh Garrett, one of my favorite human beings that I've met in the Web3 space. Josh is a pioneer. He is a conscious human being. He's a pioneer. He's an OG originator of the rave get to essence, and I get to rave with him every Wednesday in virtual events, and it's a blast seeing him. So, Josh,
Been a blast.
how are you, brother? And thank you for
Pretty
being
good.
here.
Thanks for having me, man. It's Friday, so
Heck,
feeling the Friday vibes.
nice, man. So, could you tell us a little bit about yourself, like how you found the like Second Life, and from doing like such rad stuff in real life, and then finding like virtual platforms like
Yeah.
Second Life, and how that kind of led you to Metadine.
Well, I had a tech company in 2005 or so, and I was winding it down. It was a wireless internet company, and it was kind of before 4G, and 4G really screwed over my ambitions there. Obviously, wireless internet. Um, and so, I was exploring different things, and I had recently started using Second Life, and then I was approached by a university about um, creating a geological simulator, which is basically, how the students could go into a virtual environment and explore geology, exactly how it's laid out in a textbook. And so we created what's called Geo Worlds in 2006. It was in Second Life Teen Grid back then. You basically you pass background checks and shit like that, and then you can um, they had a separate grid for 13 and under, as well as the high school age. So we deployed geo worlds in both of those grids, and um, it was a success. There was all kinds of students running around in this new kind of world, and Second Life was the one of the first platforms, at least, to use the term avatar and presence and metaverse and these types of things. And that
So,
really kind of got me interested. And so I read the book Snow Crash, which is kind of the the ultimate cyberpunk metaverse where the term really got popularized. And uh, I was hooked from there, man. Been kind of building ever since on on various platforms.
nice. So, were you coding back like when did you
Yeah.
learn how to code, and okay.
Well, sort of my job, working for other people, so to speak, is has always been software engineer. Um, my last job was in 2015 with IBM. So, even back then, from now, I've sometimes moved into that area for a little bit, and then came back to this. But programming has really been my language as far as metaverse development and whatnot. I
Hmm.
was I was on the IBM teams that originally reverse engineered Second Life, which was a project called Open Simulator, which is what I'm doing a lot of my university medical work with today. It's basically an open source version of Second Life that you can run on your private cloud, and I've built out a private hybrid cloud here. I got a rack in my basement, 42 rack full of Dell servers on Google Fiber, and running that to AWS and Microsoft Azure and all of that to
Man,
run these simulators, man. You know,
yeah. That's why this is what I'm saying is like you're real. Like you remind me of like Neo, from the Matrix, like back in the day. Like just like raves, codes, a lot of terms that I'm actually, a lot of these things are really new to me. Like geo worlds and
Mhm.
these simulators and all these on and the servers that you have. So like with your experience, like with everything that you've experienced, which is like super deep and super technical, I recommend you guys follow Josh Garrett. Look for him on X. Look for him on LinkedIn and check out Metadyn, Metadyn. It's an amazing Discord as well, and it's dope. There's a lot of talk in there, a lot of people sharing information, and a lot of like-minded individuals. If you're a creator, if you're ever interested in where the internet's going or where it's at right now. But basically, where with all that
Thanks,
experience,
man.
Josh, where
Mhm.
where where do you where for me, I feel like this is that second time around, that third time around,
Mhm. Yeah.
that first the first time virtual reality was invented. Um,
Yeah.
where do you see us now? And like with these platforms that we are using, from Decentraland to Spatial, what do you,
Sure.
where do you see it going? What do you see happening? Your thoughts
Wow.
on this whole metaverse resurgence?
It's crazy, man. We're kind of at a fork in the road a bit. Uh, a lot of people nowadays have this metaverse vision from Ready Player One and whatnot, and uh, unfortunately, a lot of people kind of gloss over the corporatocracy aspect of the whole dystopia that Ready Player Me was, or Ready Player One was. So, we're kind of at this fork in the road where AI is going to help us build the metaverse. I mean, that should be pretty obvious to everyone, and it's real obvious to Meta, and Meta embraces a lot of my philosophies, which I got from IBM, which is open source. So the metaverse really does need to be open sourced in order for it to flourish in the fully interoperable way uh,
Hmm.
that I foresee in the future. But I think there's going to be a lot of people connecting the dots in between then. One of the things that I'm focused on right now is creating secure APIs to facilitate communication and interoperable assets between places like Roblox, Decentraland, and Spatial. I think that's going to be really important in the interim. And then, a lot of these companies are going to be more embracing things like what you see out of the Metaverse Standards Forum, where you have USD assets that are really being standardized by NVIDIA, and of course, NVIDIA is building AI, right? It's pretty obvious. So they also have um, the key standards in Kronos Group, which is the leaders at NVIDIA, are building these metaverse standards. And eventually we'll see all the platforms adopting more and more of them. Apple Vision Pro is built on these. We're seeing Decentraland 2.0 launch new clients. Of course, Meta Horizons is on Unity, Spatial on Unity, VR chat. We'll see Roblox evolve a little bit closer to where all the other platforms are as well. So I foresee these all getting a little bit closer to each other, and people playing the middlemen for a little while, and cross chain communication happening until eventually we have essentially just a couple chains and standards that all the platforms are working on, and then it's about what value are these platforms providing to their users, and users will go from one platform to the other with what Second Life created as hypergrid transport, which is basically a digital suitcase that you have, and you're going to a different scene. What would be a scene in Unity, but in Second Life, it's a private server. It's an island. If somebody bought that island, right? But you can walk across the barrier from one scene to another with no glitching, nothing. You have your digital
Wow.
suitcase with all your assets. You got all your money because that's controlled a little bit higher up than that. So you're it's like blockchain, right? And if
Yeah.
Second Life adopted blockchain did, and a toolkit, if they built a toolkit, it'd be on,
Right.
uh, and maybe they will, but it's we're a few years away from this, obviously, but I think AI is really going to help make that happen, dude. I mean,
Do you
it's amazing how much even
yeah.
GPT, their latest model, uh, knows a lot about building the metaverse, and I highly recommend people use it for doing that.
And yeah, so Second Life is a trip. Like I really can't wait to, get my mind around it. I want to ask you, we found out what initially drew you to Second Life, and what specific event was that captivated you. Can you describe some of your
Yeah.
early experiences in Second Life? After that,
Whew.
after you said, okay, like I just did this
Yeah.
as a job, and
Yeah. Yeah.
you started to dive in. What were those experiences like, and what was going on in your
Oh,
mind?
very, very quickly, man. It was um, transcendental. It was almost a spiritual experience too. Um, experience presence. The first time it was not a game. You know what I'm saying? And that's really what originally drew me to spatial. It wasn't a game, and I'll be
Hmm.
honest about that.
Hmm.
I, I I've always been interested in these things where friends communicate across the world.
Yeah.
All the way to IRC and bulletin boards and shit like that. Man, I'm an old schooler, so when these platforms come out, uh, that when you first experience that true presence where you're just sitting there for hours talking to a friend or even falling in love uh, over as an avatar, man. That shit happens
Hmm.
all the time, and people get married. There's a couple people that we both know that met in Second Life and ended up together. So it's it's real, man, and the brain doesn't care, the heart doesn't care whether you're 5 feet away from somebody or 5,000 miles. Once you
Totally.
tap into that subconscious aspect of presence, because we're not a body.
And for people that like don't know, so uh, how would you differentiate that experience, from
Yeah,
like, let's say, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, maybe 20 years ago? How would you differentiate that experience from what you're experiencing now?
sure. Well, I think VR and AR is an obvious um, sort of bolt on to that presence, and as that was being developed, obviously in 2006, I've sort of been hurry up and wait on this technology, right? So when Google Cardboard came out, I was like, oh hell yeah, I'm going to take my Samsung and I'm going to put it in this piece of cardboard that I just folded up, and I'm going to do some VR, right? And then I got into like the Oculus Rift and stuff like that before Meta had a hold of it. But obviously the more we get close to what really freaks people out, and in a lot of these other platforms like VR chat and Roblox, which is what's known as the uncanny valley, which is a level of realism, which increases presence until somebody says, oh my god, I don't know whether I'm here or whether I'm not. uh, you know uh, as we inch towards that, which is gonna be the metaverse. I mean, it's uh, if you look at the Meta's Kodak avatars, they're a scan of your face, and they're a metahuman like Unreal Engine and stuff like that. So, uh, but it's an eventuality. There's going to be a sort of a split that's probably going to be
But is
the
someone
VR people that'll call you a boomer for being real. But
hmm
yeah,
and as far as like the feeling, is it the same? Like even like desktop wise, how do you feel?
um,
And especially like obviously the platforms we use give us different
well,
feelings. So how do you
yeah,
how would can you just describe some platforms
well,
and how they make you feel when you experience them?
Well, I'll be honest, man. After a period of time, because it's you got neurotransmitters involved, right? So it's dopamine and all of these aspects of novelty firing off in your synapses, and so after 20 years, it kind of uh, it, the desktop experience wears off. So when VR came, it really boosts that, and um, it changes those feelings of presence. And I think as as VR adapts and it less feels like you're wearing something on your face, more feels like you're wearing something, closer to Orion. Maybe I don't know.
Hmm.
Maybe it's a cyberpunk full wrap around like an Oakley that gives you full immersion in Ray Bans. But as we start to experience the world around us as data, as truth, um, you know, uh, full immersion, the aspect of presence, man, it's going to be like conducting magic in public.
Totally,
Uh, and,
totally.
and, 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 and it's exponential to that right now. Everything is exponential.
You ever see that show, The Black Mirror? Black
Yeah.
Mirror. Yeah, how's that
Yeah.
episode where that guy would go home from work and he would like go in his chair and he would like hit his temple and
Yeah.
that link would just get him into
Mhm.
like that. Now that's
It's,
like that's full
it's like a,
immersion,
like a neural link or,
right?
mhm.
When I see full immersion, I think of like, okay, like what's the next step? Okay, glasses. What's the next step? Okay,
Yeah.
contact lenses. What's the next
Yeah.
step? Something in your mind,
Yep.
and
It'll be external. It'll be an implant for sure.
mhm. And like for like what do you like? Some people would say like, wow, that's like an infinite universe. You know, you could go
Yeah.
like into another and into another, into another, almost like Inception. What do you think?
Yeah. Well, I mean, this stuff, right? With any tool, it's beautifully dangerous. You're going to have people that like addictive drugs. They're going to use it for escape when they're looking for that dopamine and the serotonin, or and you're going to have people that just wake up and tap their temple and turn on all day and just lay there with 20 virgins or whatever. Once you can do whatever you want, that's what a lot of people are going to do. Sadly, we have human nature, but we also have the aspect of using this stuff to go in a different direction and to use it as a tool, like any tool. A hammer, you can bludgeon someone or build a house for the homeless, right? It depends a lot on people that really care about this thing, which direction we go.
I agree.
Not just using it for this or that, or oh, AI is the buzzword. We're going to stop using the word metaverse, and it's like, man, there's been people that have been passionate about this thing for 20 years. So
Yeah, yeah.
a
And
lot of people.
earlier you were talking about like a hypergrid transport. So
Yeah.
when I think of like hypergrid transport, I got this envision of just like walking through and there's this like invisible layer where it's just like you walk through and you're in another world, and
Yeah.
you could like kind of poke your head through and
Yeah,
see
dude.
two
Peek
worlds at
in
once.
like a
Yeah,
Stargate.
yeah,
Yeah.
and you get to keep all your assets. There is
Yep.
one currency. That seems like
Yep.
like a really, it seems like the future of our world, of our digital.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
That's the future, bro.
they were on to something big there. That was like
Yeah.
a huge thing. So for me, when I think of so what would you say to people that say like, the internet was called the World Wide Web, and the internet,
Hmm.
it was that coined phrase, and now we have these digital spaces, these virtual spaces. I can go to a URL and become a digital extension, an avatar of myself, and I could run
Yeah.
around, climb mountains, go on hikes, go to church, go to have a piano
Whatever you
lesson,
want.
studio session. Yeah, and a lot of people don't know this is possible yet, but
Right.
these experiences are very, very, very possible. So when I ask like, what do you think? Like, if someone were to ask you, "Hey, Josh Garrett, the metaverse was coined from the term, that book, Snow Crash, right?"
It
Or
was, I would say, popularized. I think there's a couple of early video games, maybe in 1996, that mentioned it in their UI dialogue. But he was Neil Stevenson I think it was 91 or 92. Yeah,
There's like a
was the first
book.
that really popularized it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
No, it's a fascinating book, man. You can listen to the audiobook some night when you're chilling. It's
yeah.
awesome.
So these people obviously had the imagination, right? They're like, man, this digital thing
Yeah.
is gonna be real. Uh,
Yeah.
what do you think about where we're at now and us calling it the metaverse? Because obviously that's where we want to go.
Yeah.
We want to push the boundaries of the internet of the digital,
Yeah.
turning it 3D. So your thoughts on
Well,
the metaverse and what if someone were to be like, Josh Garrett, what is the metaverse?
my vision for it and has been for a long time, and I'm sticking to it. Change my mind type of thing. Is this digital layer? It's a fabric that we lay upon top of physical reality that um, we allow the transference of energy, transactions, communication between this layer, like an application layer. If you know
Mm,
about how computer science, and you overlay this layer of of digital sensing, digital presence, and it includes YouTube, Twitter,
mm-hmm,
all of this other stuff. IRC back then was still this meta universe, right? Which is meta, just a layer above
wow.
the universe. So you have this digital fabric that's being laid over physical reality, and that's really the metaverse. And a lot of people have been sort of building that and not even knowing it for a long time. But some visionaries, all the way back to '91, realized that that's what's happening. And Arthur C. Clarke, he's another great visionary. He had a great short story, which I also recommend. It's called Dial F for Frankenstein, and he was talking about this future where we'll have these things called satellites in space, right? Crazy to imagine that, where you have these things in space that enable communication globally. And his idea in this short story was that everybody's phone one day would all ring at the same time, and they would all pick it up, and it was like this thing coming alive, which was this fabric, right? This digital fabric that connected everybody together in the world. So it's if you look, a lot of the visionaries have kind of pointed in this direction, and that's why you have things like Ready Player One and stuff, which taps into sort of a subconscious where people really know where this thing's going. Uh, you know, it,
Mm-hmm.
it, you see it, and people discuss it and debate it. Is it art imitating life? Is it life imitating art? It's all the same thing, and we're in this sort of a force feedback loop. Um, we're
Yeah,
evolving.
I
That's
I love
what's happening.
Yeah, I love how you're talking about layers. You're right. Like, these apps, like right now, we're on a live stream. Let's say we're live streaming on to LinkedIn and to X right now. Those apps are digital layers within a digital layer within a physical
Hmm.
layer, which is our cell phone. And yeah, I love that layers within layers, and our goal is to sew these layers together eventually.
Yeah, yeah. And if you're, are you familiar with like IoT, Internet of Things,
A
and
little bit.
sort of how?
Could you tell me about that?
Yeah. Well. Sort of a lot of the things that I do as my hobby. Of course, I code for fun and build things like that. But I also mess with a lot of the like Raspberry Pis and Arduinos and stuff like that. And this. Of course, 5G is part of this digital fabric, right? So you have the self-driving cars and the latest announcement with the robo taxis and right and
So what
all
is
the
yeah, sorry. What is Internet of Things? This is what you're saying right now.
Internet of Thing is a small device that can report physical reality to the metaverse, essentially. So you have sensors that farmers are using
Ah.
that detect relative humidity, soil,
Mm.
pH, all these different things. You have cars that are reporting back to GM, like
Mm.
the cylinders getting a little hot. All this different data that's being collected all over the world right now
Hmm.
is now being given things like 5G, and things like iPhone is now being given open AI. So
Mm.
we're giving eyes to this thing,
Got it.
right? And an iPhone is an Internet of Thing, right? It's a thinking device that can report back to whatever people want it to report back to, and learn from what it sees, what it hears, etc. Right?
Hmm.
About the physical world. So all these things, Tesla is driving around with its eyes open, right?
Right.
Learning everything it can about the physical world,
Wow.
and this is going right back to XAI. It's being processed by NVIDIA DGX 200
Wow.
boxes, and and the Optimus robot is using that same vision to now walk around the world from what it learned from the cars.
So like it's like AI married with the physical world, right? It's like it's computing
It's
married
part of
with
the
the
it's part of
world,
the
right?
fabric.
It's
It's
ins
part of the fabric.
right.
It's like a not a maitre d, but you know, somebody that
S-
can like lead you from one area, a guide. You know.
Mhm, mhm. I love that. Um, so speaking of that, so what's gonna happen when quantum computing comes to Internet of Things, and maybe to
Yeah.
where we're at? Your thoughts? When
I
and
mean, bro. I mean,
did they say
some of this
2020?
stuff we really don't have any idea,
And,
right?
don't they say like there's a certain year that's called the year of quantum?
The year of quantum. I mean, uh, it's been posited and pushed back. You know, different things like that. I think if we're looking for this moment, I think like if you're looking for like visionaries, Ray Kurzweil is really on point with what he termed the singularity and the age of spiritual machines, where these things and it's these AI models that are being developed now that get married with quantum computers for the compute for the inference. And what's then's happening. I mean, dude, you know the latest model with OpenAI has 120 average IQ, or 120 IQ. That's an average human being.
Right.
Next year, we're going to be beyond an average human being, and that's a fact. And that's just these models. But it takes a 20 billion, 30 billion dollar data center to build the next model, right? And the models are only good for about a year until they're obsolete, almost, because the next model on on the exponential growth is so much more advanced in reasoning and thinking than the previous model, GPT-4. Uh, that they literally have to build a new data center every time they want to do this. So
Dang.
you need quantum computing and something else at some point, because if you think about Moore's law, it's a concept where this exponential growth of transistors that are getting stacked on top of silicon has been going at a certain curve, right, for a long time. Uh, you know, tens of thousands of transistors stacked in this silicone wafer. It's really kind of like alien technology, right?
Whoa.
But uh, at some point, we're going to reach a limit, and it's probably going to be heat, and that's why these AI boxes are pumping this super cooled liquid through the motherboards, literally, at Microsoft.
What?
Yeah, dude. Antifreeze basically through these server racks
Dude.
to keep it cool, because we're sort of close to this theoretical limit. So what they do is they just keep building a bigger data center,
Mm.
uh, and we don't know when that limit's going to be, but quantum computing is going to solve a lot of that. It's just about how fast can we solve quantum computing,
Right.
and AI is going to be a key to that, because things like fusion and quantum computing have these indeterminacies, or uh, when you get down on the quantum level, it's not just ones and zeros, right? That electron can be in any position. So you
Yeah.
need something super intelligent beyond our intelligence to act as our ally, to help us get our hands around this type of stuff, like fusion, which is going to run the future data centers of quantum computing.
Fusion. Fusion.
Yeah, it's a little sun in a warehouse. You know what I'm saying? You hold a
Like,
little sun in a magnetic field, and
like,
then you pull the energy off of it.
no way, dude. Okay.
Yeah,
So,
I mean,
and
we've maintained it for a couple seconds now, I think.
wow.
But AI is really helping us to extend that into
And
hopefully
and and what about
indefinite.
can psilocybin help us with that too?
Psilocybin?
Yeah.
I mean, dude, you have great thinkers. I mean, the person who developed or the iPhone, for example, Steve Jobs said taking LSD when he was thinking about these things was one of the most important things he's ever done in his life. You have people that have discovered DNA, for example, that did so under the influence of LSD. Albert Hoffman, one of the greatest pharmacologists, was the one that developed LSD. So you have these things that are just sort of unlocking, and you have ayahuasca retreats and stuff like that happening nowadays, and that has sort of become the fad, right? But what it does is activates a lot of channels that you're previously not using and gets you out of what's called the default mode network, which is sort of like if you're going about your day, you wake up, you have coffee, you do your thing, you go to sleep, you shit during the day or whatever. You develop these ruts in your neural pathways, right? So it's like a wheel in the mud, and event
Mm,
it keeps you in the rut. So if you start to get depressed and you're in a depressed rut, you tend to stay there. Or if you're having a problem thinking out of the box and you're a corporate CEO and you can't think of that serious solution for a year or something like that, you're banging your head. Sometimes those things can make you think outside of the box and break you out of that mold um, to make the next best thing. Like, I mean, something happened to Zuckerberg, right?
yeah.
I mean, he ain't he did something.
Yeah. Uh, yeah.
But it doesn't always work. I mean, sometimes you have a CEO come back from the jungle and they're like, "I quit. Fuck
Yeah.
it."
Exactly. No, for me, it's definitely been a huge, awareness thing. It definitely connected
Yeah.
neurons for me that things that I never even knew I was asking myself. Answers would just come up and click. And I think what's crazy, Josh, is I think the metaverse or what version we have of it now, it does the same for me every day. It's like
Yeah.
microdosing every day. What I'm
Yeah.
learning, how I'm learning so fast, connecting with people, learning in real time. Having to meet somebody like you is really cool because it's like coding is an art, man, and everything that you've spent all your time learning, reading, diving deep, into like the fabric of human essence and digital births, like it's just crazy. Um, with the blockchain, what do you think is going to happen with the blockchain with quantum computing and wi- is it going to exist? Will it
Yeah.
level up?
Well, you're definitely seeing the layers and the integration. So
Excuse me.
you have these platforms that like Third Web and whatnot, and that's one of the ones that I'm working with quite a bit. As you know, we work together on the NFT marketplace stuff with it.
Yeah,
They've got a lot of things like Unity integration as well. SDKs for Unity and Unreal.
love it.
They've also got one of the things that I'm implementing behind a secure API is the Third Web engine. And I think more and more people are going to be deploying things like the Third Web engine, where they have the technical expertise. They can directly tap into the actual transactions themselves instead of sending it off through the API or the SDK. So more and more, I think projects are going to be developing their own platforms. Uh, sort of on the download to out there. It's one of the things that I'm uh,
Yeah,
definitely working on is developing a multiplayer full blockchain platform that can be fully configurable to a project, like you see what happening with like a kid called Beast. I think Unity 6 is really going to enable a lot of this type of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're having a lot more cognizance of the need of multiplayer bolted onto Unity. We have Unity gaming services that are fully built out now. They bought the voice service that was being used for Second Life. It's called Vivox. It's now
Wow.
part of Unity gaming services. Full multiplayer net code with lobby systems, friendship, leaderboards, everything that you would expect from a system, all built into Unity now, with uh, a free uh, a free tier, right? So until you reach a uh,
Mm-hmm.
certain level, you can build this stuff out. So I think that's what's going to be happening a lot more with blockchain projects. Is there,
Yeah.
because you can't have all these holders, right? Uh, you think about like a D gods or something like that, or a bored ape, where you got millions of dollars in assets, right? That's why they built Other Side. They can't depend on some other platform, bro. Making the
Right.
wrong decision in a boardroom because dude has a hangover, uh, you
Exactly.
know, uh,
Yeah.
or whatever the case may be, right? So I think that the smart platforms are going to be doing that, and the smart builders are going to be building those platforms.
I agree. I agree with you. In my personal journey, I would love to own, my own server, my own URL, and
Yeah,
have everything, done the way that we're all talking about, which is like truly
it, sh-
decent.
it should be like a website,
Yeah.
right?
It's
You upload your Unity to GoDaddy,
yeah,
right?
exactly.
And that's your platform,
Exactly.
or the
And
cloud, wherever
yeah,
you want to run it.
yeah, exactly. And it's interesting that we're talking. So we're talking about the blockchain, and I love how you're, talking about Web3 and how we're transitioning. So recently, Ready Player Me just transitioned with a new project called
Mhm.
Player Zero, and they just went on OpenSea and did like a surprise mint where there's a reveal. It was beautiful, beautiful, beautiful
It
release.
looked rad, man. Yeah,
Definitely, and just even from seeing like these like the doodles, or all these other projects come out on OpenSea, and the
yeah,
way they would premiere their releases and airdrops,
sure.
everything like that. So I love I love what they're doing. I see a transition right now happening. I don't know if you've noticed, but the hub is gone. On Ready Player Me now, there's only the studio, and so that
Yeah,
that hub is transitioning into Player Zero, and if you notice. It's very it's there's like five t-shirts, five sweaters, and so forth. There's a wallet integration. This is the key thing for me is there's a
yeah.
Web3 transition right there. And so rather than using the old avatar platform, now there is a new user index, like a new way of doing things, a new graphics and everything. And now there's a wallet, and you can connect that wallet to that purchase you made on OpenSea for Player Zero that just came out. And now you got Ready Player Me slash Player Zero. They've created their own digital fashion, and
Hmm.
they are integrated into over what 4,000 different platforms. So
Yeah,
you have all these different platforms, that know about you and your avatar company, and now everyone's minting, and
it's pretty smart.
it's genius. For
They like
me,
slipped in there like a.
yep. And this is where I was always kind of asking and talking to a lot of people about. I was like, man, a digital marketplace needs to be um,
Yeah.
implemented that we could all use, like that we could,
Yeah.
like, I would love to put some stuff in there and everything like that. But that was a
Yeah.
great way. They had over 80,000, like, I think it was like 80,000, uh, they made over $80,000 yesterday, or on the release day. And
Oh wow.
yeah, and so now there's people even selling it already on OpenSea. They're
Hmm.
like, oh, I got two of these pants. I'm gonna sell one of these pants. So this is the future, guys. This is the future,
Yeah.
right, Josh? So
And you enable the reselling as well, right? I mean, you hate for that to
exactly.
happen to a project, but if somebody needs to sell their shirt and get $10 or whatever,
Yeah, if Mitch Jackson, the AI attorney, he just recently talked
yeah,
about.
he's awesome.
Absolutely. He just recently talked about an AI, I'm sorry, a new law that got established in California for digital downloads.
Yeah.
And he was talking about how now there has to be a disclaimer saying, hey, this digital download is only a license. You don't truly own it. So now I
Yeah.
think we see Congress looking at the role of digital downloads and the aesthetic of it. Like when I play
Yeah.
Call of Duty and I buy a skin for my gun, I
Yeah.
don't get to take that artwork, that skin, that
Or
wrap,
Fortnite or yeah.
that with me to the next game. So
Sure.
this is a beautiful thing. I think this is a huge. I wanted to talk to you about that. What are your thoughts, man?
It's a massive opportunity, dude.
Yes.
And it's a massive opportunity. First, I mean, the people, and it's why you got to not consider people like Disney our enemy, right? Because the biggest digital IP is going to be coming from people like that. They're going to have the kind of money that's needed to lobby Congress, like, hey, we want to build a metaverse and in Fortnite and Roblox and Decentraland, and we want the assets to be interoperable between the platforms to where we maximize the value of these Disney IP, right? Uh, Marvel, they've got Lucas Arts. You know what I'm saying, dude? So on top of all the Disney shit. So it's going to be people
Gnarly.
like that really help this be pushed forward. And I think they've done some stuff in Fortnite already, right? I know Nike's done some cross between Fortnite and Roblox as well. So you kind of got with Artifact, right? So you have a lot of these bigger companies that are really going to help push this forward. Because I mean, like, if we were screaming from Twitter to make this happen, none of that's going to happen unless we do have these big guys. So we gotta help them out sometimes, and encourage them to take a chance. Maybe they lose some money, but uh, when everybody was saying Zuckerberg was done because he was building a metaverse, that turned out not to be the case. So I'm hoping to see companies have a little bit more balls, and they're starting to. But you know they're gonna allow the mass market adoption to happen, and you see it with the swoosh. They're doing their own type of the dot swoosh. They do the wallets, and a lot of these things are going to be really powerful in the metaverse platforms too, because you're going to start being able uh, to base your actual experience there on not only your NFT but its traits and dynamic traits. And depending on what you do in there, you can change your NFT into a different trait and publish that to the blockchain. And then whoever buys that next has the new trait type of thing. All of that type of stuff will be developed. In the same way, I think we're going to have some middleman. You have a lot of different like layer two APIs that do cross chain communication right now. But I think that type of stuff is just going to get easier and easier, man. And
Hmm.
digital assets, um, when these bigger companies really start needing it, it's going to be available for everybody, right? Because it's like the rising tide lifts all ships type of thing
Dude,
with blockchain.
I think it's
So
I think it's gonna happen so fast. Like in one
yeah,
year,
yeah,
like, I think in one year you're gonna see a bunch of websites have wallet integration. Like, just
yep,
all of a sudden you're like, wait, what just
yep.
happened?
It's gonna get real easy, man. You're gonna have people like Shopify integrate wallets,
Yep.
and once you start seeing that happen, I mean, Shopify just announced a partnership with Roblox, dude.
Yep.
I mean, you can buy a shirt in Roblox, and Shopify will ship your hoodie.
That's insane.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So
Insane.
yeah, that's how it needs to be.
Yes.
It needs to be insane, and we need these young CEOs at these companies taking chances, man.
Yep.
Doing ayahuasca, whatever it
Yeah.
takes. Because there's people that are telling them don't do that. It's a stupid idea. The Warren Buffetts of the world. We
Yes.
need to not listen to them, and that's why Mark Zuckerberg is doing what he's doing. He hasn't listened to anybody.
Right. Um.
He's
Okay.
got enough money to say "fuck you."
So with AI building the metaverse, I'm just gonna go over a couple tech things, and so with AI building the metaverse, Josh, we're gonna
Yeah.
see a lot of things really change really fast, man. Where, how do you see how do you see AI in the metaverse marrying? I know you touched on it earlier, but like
Yeah.
I want to know like can you prepare us for us listening, watching, maybe watching this
Yeah.
on replay? What's gonna really happen here in the next couple years?
To be honest, you're gonna see it touch every aspect of this. Whether you're a developer like myself, I mean, I use multiple LLMs constantly in my coding. I've been programming in C# and JavaScript for 20 years, and I still use it constantly. It saves on the amount of work by weeks. Okay, I mean, literally weeks, whether you know how to do it or not. Save your energy and your brain power for the troubleshooting and the fine tuning and all of that. And it's going to touch every single aspect of building this thing. Whether you're a 3D modeler and you're using it for knowledge in Blender, whether you're using it for text to object, text to text materials, or whatever kind of things like that, and those are just tools for the builders. For the consumer, I think we're 1 to 2 years away from being able to put on a headset, describe a scene, describe who you want in the scene, who you want to interact with, say go, and you're in holodeck, you're in Metaverse 2.0. And that's sort of the total hands off experience, right? But you're gonna have custom things that people still want at that point.
Hmm.
But uh, ultimately, AI right now is going to allow us to get there, and just use it as an ally. Uh, and pretty much whatever you're doing. If you're a content creator, a programmer, or you work in Unity, it it can help a lot. And I'm gonna do some further posts on how to think about using AI and not just how to use it. There's some specific ways based on the limitations of that each one of them has, right? But one can give you the tools using the data that another gives you, type of thing, right? So if you sort of use them together, it can really be powerful. And then giving them feedback based on what you're using it for, it can start to give you more results like what you're wanting.
Yeah, you're right, and I definitely see a lot of time just compounding. Like all that time we're saving.
So
Um,
much time, dude.
yeah, and now the world is moving 24/7. At the same time moving, pushing that boundary further.
Yeah.
Quick question: why do they say coding is an art?
I mean, it's almost like it's another language, right? It's whether you're learning Python, whether you're learning C#, you're speaking another language with your hands. So you're sort of composing a symphony, right? And if you're really in a flow, I guess you could consider that. And you have shitty art, it's all relative, right? But I mean, in the eye of the beholder. But you can have really bad code, and you can have really beautiful, artful code, and some of that has to do with just
Can you and you
cleanliness
can
or whatnot. Or
okay, got you. And you could tell, but just by looking at it, even on the screen.
I mean, yeah, of course. Don't touch it if it works initially, but you want to start proper. with code, of course. And
And then what do you think about jobs?
yeah,
The workforce. How do you think that's going to be affecting the world in the next 10 years with AI?
yeah, man, it's going to be seriously affected. I mean, it's going to be an LLM that's writing most of the code. So if you're in software, you're going to want to be at least working with them constantly, or developing a way to put your own self out of a job and developing your own job. Uh, create your own job now for 2 years from now,
Hmm.
because if you're programming, you're probably not going to be anywhere near the skill level. I mean, sure, you can
Yeah.
program for fun, but you're just going to be able to, within a year, tell these things whatever you want application wise. I want an iPhone app that does this, blah blah blah. I mean, you can pretty much do that now.
Gnarly.
So yeah.
How
So you're
accurate?
you're going to enter the age of abundance, but a lot of the people who have been greedy are going to find that that model doesn't work anymore.
Hmm. I agree. Community-led growth is the future. I'm
Yeah,
betting on virtual
yeah.
economies in the future.
We're going to have a lot more time on our hands, and some people aren't going to know what to do with that time.
Yep, yep. And how accurate is AI? If you did, like you said, oh, I want to create an app on an iPhone for this
Yeah,
reason, solving
it's
this.
real accurate for stuff
How
like that,
accurate?
man.
Yeah.
It's super accurate because I mean, especially like you have models that have consumed the entirety of GitHub, which is basically the world's repository for open source code, right? And
Hmm.
most of it's pretty damn good code. So
Scale out of 10. 9.8.
what's that?
Scale out of 10. 8.8. 1 out of 10.
I mean, yeah, you can't be a shitty coder and expect it to do it all. You have to know whether it's making a mistake or not.
Hmm.
You have to be able to fix those mistakes.
Okay.
So it's it's getting you most of the way there, though, for
Yeah.
sure.
Hey, you know what?
Yeah, not nine.
You 9. You know what I was wondering the other day? How come like I've heard so much about space trash, but I never like see it in photos of satellites, or like I can never see the space trash from like a
You see it
spaceship.
every now and then.
Yeah, like I want to see some space trash from like from space. I want to, or
Yeah.
I was just
Well,
wondering about that.
there's some interesting photos of like big blocks of aluminum
No
with
way.
big holes blown in the side of them from a tiny piece of plastic. So
Wow.
even just a half an inch of space trash can completely obliterate a satellite because it's doing 10,000 miles an hour or whatnot
That's
in the orbit. But
that's so crazy.
once you're up there, dude, it's so vast. But you still have all this.
Right.
I mean, like most of the satellites, I think, are interoperable right now. They're just trash.
Wow. All right. So I want to so thank you for like, sharing
Yeah.
your mind, your philosophies, your thoughts, your experiences with us. We have like a couple more minutes and I kind of wanted to wrap up talking about you and where you're going, what you're working on. I know that Metadyne is
Hmm.
an amazing Discord community where you are
Thanks.
dropping so many gems for people. You're giving a bunch of free dope code, letting people know what you're doing on your social media. You're always posting like your workshop, like it's basically like a blue grid, and it's like
Yeah.
the Matrix, and you got like a Air Force plane over here, you got like a car over there, you got a half pipe. It's like
Yeah,
you're.
just a sandbox that I like to play in, man.
I love that. Um, but yeah, like basically, I wanted to just ask about Metadyne. Like,
Yeah.
I wanted to just talk about your role at Metadyne, and are you, diving into anything exciting, any exciting innovations, anything that maybe we can be on the lookout for to keep an eye on you.
Well, I got some things that I touched on a little bit, but I can't go too much farther. But um, I started it to be a resource for builders to uh, sort of serve as an incubation for acceleration in metaverse building,
Love it.
and that's sort of just to share my knowledge and hopefully inspire enough passion among other builders to start to share their knowledge. I got to be honest. I'm a little bit disappointed that not a lot of people do. I can understand that from a lot of different aspects.
Mm.
But I think more and more people will, and those types of things really accelerate things, right? Because you don't have to be a complete expert. It's about lifting people up and uh, bringing them up to wherever you are. You don't have to be level 100. If you're level 75 or whatnot, help your homies at 50 get to 60 or 75
Yeah.
or whatnot. So that was kind of my thing behind Metadyne, and I'd like to turn it also into a resource for builders and agencies to be able to, support their livelihood as well. Today I created some roles for, 3D 3D designer, architect, developer, to where, people that are posting their project or they're needing help from other people can hook up with those types of people and sort of facilitate those connections of finding somebody that can help them out with their project type of thing without blasting Spatial's Discord, like, you know, which always seems like a scam, right? I'm a blockchain developer. I need blah blah blah.
Right.
But I'd love to see it more as a resource, and what we're focused on now is sort of planting our flag in other platforms as well. And I mentioned the uh, secure API that's being developed is going to start facilitating communication between Roblox and Spatial and Decentraland and VR chat and stuff like that. And so be on the lookout for cool things happening that people haven't seen happen yet,
Awesome,
which is
Josh.
sort of where my passion is. I get a little bored once everybody's doing something.
Man, you're epic. You're a legend, man. Thank you so much. It's always great chatting with
Thanks for
you.
having me, man.
Man, thank you. And we'll have to do this again soon. Maybe in like 6 months or a year, and
For sure.
see where we're at, and yeah, check in and see what's going on with the metaverse.
Awesome, man. Thanks
Hey,
again.
thanks, Josh. Thank you, everybody, and we'll see you out there. You can catch this on YouTube, and this is obviously streamed live on X and LinkedIn. Thanks, everyone.